Hello, everyone. It's so great to be with you guys for another episode. And I have a special guest that I'm bringing today that sometimes I feel there's topics that get a little hidden or people don't even know about or maybe misunderstood. So I have met Rose and I'm going to introduce you because she is absolutely amazing. And I hope she's going to tell you guys a little bit more of why you should be curious about your minerals, understand your minerals, and probably you want to get them tested because they may be holding you back in your overall health journey. So, this is Rose Yadzio, and it is absolutely a pleasure that you're with us today. She is an integrative nutrition and health coach. And today in our world, I feel that I want to always bring forth women that are supporting women in health and wellness because we need to be the light out there that life can feel great, life can be easier, we can live in abundance in this health. And no longer is it just like our fate. No longer, as we're getting older, should we just not feel great, right? We are truly going to thrive in these times of our life and really redefine aging. And so when you and I chatted several weeks back, I'm like, my audience needs to learn more from you. So, Rose, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And I'd love for you to share with the audience just a little bit more about yourself and your journey.
Sure. Thanks, Kelly. I'm so happy to be here. So, I was actually an elementary school teacher for more than 30 years. And a big part of those years I spent, especially in once I reached, I would say around my late 30s, early 40s, I was exhausted. I was having migraines. I was having digestive issues. And I finally went to my doctor because, as women, we kind of plow through and we're taking care of everybody else. I was taking care of my teenagers at the time. They were, middle school and teenagers. And I was also taking care of aging parents. And I was teaching second grade. So, you have to show up and you have to be your best, even if you don't feel it. And so I was pushing through. And after time, I just couldn't do it anymore. And the long story short, when I went to my doctors, I was pretty much dismissed and just said, well, it's just the way it is. Take this for the digestive issues. That made me feel even worse. Uh, I ended up getting diagnosed with celiac disease several years later. It was a very complicated process because no one thought to test me for that. And I had never even heard of it. I finally went to a nutritionist myself. So that was a big piece of my journey. But what I found, even with taking gluten out of my diet, I started to feel a lot better. The migraines went away. A lot of the digestive issues went away. But what I found was that I was still exhausted and I was getting these really, really severe PMS symptoms. And I just didn't feel right. It just did. I was busy, yes, of course, but I just didn't feel right. And until I figured out that my hormones were just a mess and so imbalanced, and I was so affected by the stress in my life, and slowly, with the help of my own coach, made slow changes. That's what led me to this journey. So when I decided I was done teaching, I pursued getting my certification as an integrative health and nutrition coach so that I could help other women in this phase of life, kind of that after 40 phase, who are told that our symptoms are common. They are, but I really want to empower them to know that they're not inevitable.
Oh my gosh, Rose, that's amazing. And I think that is probably the number one, I'm not going to say complaint, but the number one thing I hear women saying is, oh, my doctor said it's normal. I was
Mhm.
dismissed. I've had, clients, colleagues, friends end up with pretty severe diagnoses that in the beginning, when they started this, like, I don't feel right thing, really
Mhm.
were dismissed. And it's just like, wow, we really need to start understanding that all of these things that we're feeling, we need to really use our intuition and know, no, there really is something, and really taking that deeper dive.
Mhm.
Because the second thing I want to point out that you said is that it's common. And I would say if women go out to lunch, whatever they're chatting, they all start chatting about their different symptoms. So in general, we think it's normal.
Mhm.
Even though something can be common, that a lot of people have it, that doesn't make it normal. That's where
Exactly.
I want women to really stand up to say, no, you're having this because you're not supporting your body, whether it's with food, whether it's with movement, whether it's with minerals we're going to talk about, whatever that
Mhm.
may be. We
Yep.
often just dismiss our stress and busyness and that it's just normal. So I really want each and every one of you, if you're out there feeling like, ooh, I have a little bit of that, my brain's not really working right, my gut's not quite right, I have headaches, then you need to dig a little deeper, that you can feel literally with some small changes phenomenal.
Mhm.
And that I think brings us to really our discussion today, because the two top things I would say, and you can tell me what you feel in your practice, but
Mhm.
a lot of women going through midlife are either going to talk about weight loss or hormones,
Yes.
right? Like ding, ding, ding.
Absolutely. The 3 symptoms I hear about most are I can't lose weight, I don't have any energy, and I can't sleep.
There we
And
go.
they're all connected. They are all connected.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So, if that speaks to any of you guys out there, I want you to really listen closely, because there is this component that most of us never even think about. The only part of minerals you might be thinking about, because it's really advertised right now, is like electrolyte drinks. There's a lot
Mhm.
of brands out there really pumping, which I support. And especially when you're working out a lot or it's hot or you're not getting it in your diet, is granted. I also use some electrolytes,
Mhm.
but minerals are something that people are like, wait, I drink mineral water. What are minerals? Get my minerals tested. What even does that mean? So let's kind of go back to the basics, Rose. Start with what are minerals and why does somebody even need to test them? And then we'll
Mhm.
kind of walk into what maybe people are experiencing if their minerals were out of balance, because mine were. I know
Mhm.
mine were.
Same. Yeah, let me backtrack just a little bit if it's okay with you. So,
Of course.
like you, Kelly, I know, my program works on those 4 pillars first, that stress, sleep, nutrition, and movement, right? And I kind of think of those as like the cupcake, the actual cake, right? And if you don't have that foundation or that cake, right, then everything else is just kind of like the frosting or the sprinkles. People always want to know, what supplement can I take, what pill can I take so that I can sleep. And I always say, like, okay, we'll get there, but that's like the frosting on the cake and the sprinkles. And so for me, we work on those foundations first. But what I found, and I actually found this, so I started my practice and I didn't use mineral testing. And what I found was I was, first of all, repeating the same thing over and over with my clients because they were having the same symptoms, which is why I started a group program, because I think there's so much power in community. But what I found was that women were having all these symptoms. And even though I was helping them build their habits, they weren't figuring out why. What was the root cause? They were going to their doctors and they were getting tested. And, some of them were kind of, borderline pre-diabetic, right? So they knew they had some blood sugar imbalance, which is a big factor as we age, that insulin resistance. But they would say, I'm tired all the time. So their doctors would test their thyroid and their thyroid would come out normal because their body was producing thyroid hormone, because that's what blood tests. But mineral testing is a very accessible way to address the root causes of your symptoms. So when it comes to hormone imbalance, because we know as we age, our estrogen decreases, our hormones are imbalanced. It's just a fact. We're not going to change that, but we need to change what we do in order to support that. So when our minerals become depleted, thyroid and metabolism slow down, and once those slow down, and your when I say your thyroid slows down, it doesn't mean that your thyroid is inactive or it's not producing hormone. It is producing hormone. It just means that when your minerals aren't balanced, that thyroid hormone, for example, could not be getting to the cells that it needs to get to, if that makes sense. And so when your minerals become depleted, your thyroid and metabolism slow down, as I said, and then what happens is it affects your digestion too. So, of course, if your metabolism slows down, It can affect your weight gain. It can affect, and it's not inevitable that our metabolisms slow. They do. There's actually new research. I don't know if you've talked about it yet, but showing that our metabolisms really don't slow down because of our age specifically until we're 60. And even then, it's only at a rate of 1% per year. Now, that doesn't mean they don't slow as we age because, life happens and stress ages, slows our metabolism, as does medications, things like that. So, yes, but the good news is we can speed them back up. We can rev them back up. Weight gain, it can lead to, as I said, digestive issues. As that digestion slows too, based on our minerals, it becomes an increased burden on our liver. And once our livers are burdened, our bodies aren't detoxing properly. And that's just a perfect storm for hormone imbalance.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, the cascade of how minerals affect our hormones. And as I said, what I like is that mineral testing is such an accessible way to get to that root cause. It's just a very simple hair test. You take a little piece of hair, you send it off to a lab. There's no needles involved, and really that's it. And it gives us so much information about your, as I said, metabolism, your adrenal health, your thyroid health, your blood sugar. It's really kind of incredible. And what I hear from most of the women that I test is, no wonder I feel this way.
Yes, yes. So let's back up just a tiny bit and talk about,
Sure.
so what minerals are we looking at? Because people
Yeah.
some might be like, I know sodium and potassium, and that's about
Mhm.
it. Like, and calcium, like
Great
what else are we
question.
looking
Yeah.
at?
So we're looking
So
at a
please.
bunch of different minerals, but the big four that we look at in a first test are calcium, sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Magnesium is responsible for over 300 functions in our body. Sodium and potassium work together to sort of create that pump that I talked about that gets the minerals that you need to the cells in your body. So if those are depleted, and that those are probably the two minerals that I see depleted most in women, and that's from stress. So usually what I see, this is a very typical profile. So this is why sometimes even if we work together and you don't opt for testing, I can give you some suggestions based on your symptoms. But once we see where your minerals are, then we can really supplement properly. And we'll get to, you talked about electrolytes in a minute, but uh, so we look at those four minerals in particular, but we also look at the way that our minerals work together because they either work together synergistically or antagonistically. So we're looking at a lot of we're looking at a lot of mineral interaction. So for example, I'm looking at your sodium and magnesium ratio together to tell me about your adrenal health. So that's kind of a nutshell. But those four, so calcium, if your calcium is really high, it tells us that you're in a stress state of kind of constant long-term stress, that kind of parasympathetic, like you're just so tired that you can't rev yourself up. If your calcium is low, then that tells us that you're in a state of that really high stress, fight or flight. So that's just an example of, we would supplement very differently. And you talked about electrolytes, and even if your listeners have heard of something called an adrenal cocktail, I feel like they're kind of the cool thing right now. If you go on Instagram, you'll see someone making an adrenal cocktail. And I always tell people, you will never see me do that because it's not for everyone. So if your sodium and potassium is low, and that we've showed that you're in that sort of parasympathetic state of stress, then I'm going to tell you to, yes, go with those electrolytes. You need extra sodium and potassium. You need an adrenal cocktail. But if yours is already high, then you're not doing yourself any favors. So that's kind of where the testing comes in. And the tricky thing is, both of those women that I just described can feel exhausted,
Yes,
but they need different things
for
based on their
different
mineral
reasons. Oh my
status.
gosh.
Yes.
So yeah, I when I did my test, I just had been taking my doctor's advice of, as
Mhm.
an aging woman, I should be on a calcium supplement. So I was just on a calcium supplement from maybe age, I don't know, 40-ish, right? And even though I exercise well, everything, he said, no, no
Mhm.
matter what, every woman needs to be on a calcium product. So, okay, so I researched it and I found a great product. But once I did my minerals testing, my calcium was so high
Mhm.
because I was getting everything I needed. It was
Mhm.
blocking the absorption of my other minerals. And so
Exactly.
the
I've
interesting
had
thing
the
was,
same experience.
right, I didn't actually need more of those other minerals. I just needed to stop taking my calcium supplement and things got back into balance and back into harmony. Talking about
Mhm.
the whole antagonistic, right? That one's
Right,
more
right,
empowering
right,
the
right,
other and
right.
now they're not working. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so I think that is a big myth that every woman needs to be taking calcium.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I am lucky enough that I have a great doctor who doesn't just recommend things like that. But I know that that can be something that women deal with. And I've worked with a lot of women who are. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a pharmacist. I will never tell you to stop taking a supplement, but I will tell you to, just question it. Question it. It's okay to question it. We don't have to just accept things that are suggested to us because they are the norm.
Exactly, exactly. So ultimately, if somebody has their mineral tested, so you said there's
Mhm.
basics that they're testing, but ultimately, how many? Like there's a lot that actually, right? That we have in our bodies. I don't even think we
Right.
can understand that.
Yes. Yeah, we're looking at things like manganese. We're looking at things like boron, which is a mineral that's very connected to your hormone health. Things that I honestly never even heard of before. Selenium, which is hugely connected to thyroid health. So, yes, we look
Kind
at
of
all of those.
it brings me back to the periodic table, right? In chemistry in school.
Yes, it's kind of like that. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
those of you guys are like, what? I'm like, yeah, I
I
remember
know.
like iron is Fe and
Yes.
all of, oh my gosh, it's like mind boggling.
Mhm.
But that's what we're talking about. And that's how important these things that are that we need in our diet. Historically, we get them all through food, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, the food industry has changed. What we're eating has changed. Ultra processed food has, become so common in tandem with this overproduction of life, overstress, do more, hustle, grind. So those two together are really the perfect storm to deplete our
Mhm.
bodies. So they're just not functioning like they should.
Yeah. And I love that minerals are so accessible. So we look at your results and then we can see exactly what you need and we can start with food. So when clients test their minerals, they get a protocol from me and they get nutrition recommendations, of course, based on their metabolic type. Now, I will tell you, there's definitely a trend, but our metabolisms work on a scale, and the goal is to get to balance. But then there's slow one, slow two, slow three. So, how close are you to balance? We'll work with that, and the ratios are different. If you're a faster metabolizer, and I do see that sometimes with women who are under a great deal of acute stress, they're usually the women who, struggle to gain weight as opposed to lose weight. So I don't see as many of those, but they're definitely out there and it's just as stressful to them. So they're going to have some different nutritional recommendations. If I see that your sodium and your potassium are super low, I'm going to give you recommendations of like 7 to 10 high potassium, high sodium foods to include in your diet. And I know for people, when they hear high sodium, it can be scary because we hear, the medical advice is go on a low sodium diet. And what people need to understand is that when your doctor tells you that, especially if you struggle with blood pressure, they're talking about the sodium that is in like what was it called? Morton's, the little girl with the umbrella we grew up with,
Yeah.
that processed iodized salt. They're talking about the sodium that's in processed foods. They're not talking about a good quality Himalayan sea salt that you're going to put on to season your foods. That's a whole different story. Your body needs sodium for energy. And so you don't want to be too low. Potassium, too. Potassium is a huge one that I see. I don't think I have tested a woman over 40 that doesn't have potassium depleted.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, because it's directly correlated to stress.
Yes.
Stress eats away at our potassium, and it's so easy to replenish. I mean, you can definitely do electrolytes, as you mentioned earlier, but you can also do things like, russet potatoes with the skin, tomatoes. There's so many foods that we can incorporate into our diet, and it potassium is one of the minerals that is the most important, especially when it comes to fat loss too. If that's something you're struggling with after perimenopause, it can make us feel more satisfied. And there's a study that I just read not too long ago, I think it was from 2021, that said it's really second to protein in its importance for weight loss in perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah. Well, I love all of this because really I'm trying to really promote people to get back to cooking at home, right? Get
Yes.
back to whole foods. Get like that will change your life if you'll just stop
Mm-hmm.
eating out all the time, right? And so in that, food is medicine, and food is
Yes.
going to give us what we need. I do recommend some, supplements and activation and a lot of things because our bodies today are under constant attack. However,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the first line of defense, like you said, right?
Right. Exactly.
You've got to support the body first, then we can kind of take a look. And I think our old school thought of just mega dose supplements is like,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, the body can't even, what is it doing with all of this? That's not okay.
Right.
Kind of a little bit like I was talking about with the calcium. And people need to realize, no, you probably just need a little bit of support or a
Mm-hmm.
combination or more microdosing so that the body can use all of this. But before we didn't know any better. We just thought if a little vitamin C is good, then more is better, right? Like,
Yes, exactly, and I think that that was really true, during the whole COVID, scare. People were supplementing with zinc and vitamin C, and I saw such elevated zinc levels on women because they were there, and I would say, "Do you take zinc?" "Oh, yeah, I started, with COVID," and that's okay to do a little bit of that, but I think we can go too far in that direction, especially when we don't know, we're guessing,
yeah,
right? I like to test, I don't like to guess when it comes to supplements. I like to supplement around results. And then the other piece, that third piece that I really base on symptoms and on results is lifestyle recommendations. So, for example, if you're, I think that those of us who, grew up at a time where we were doing step aerobics and, a lot of cardio, that's a hard thing to change. And a lot of women really need to step away from that cardio focus to more strength training, more walking, more just lifestyle changes that support rest and relaxation and detoxing properly, because that's something that really is key to hormone balance. If your liver's not functioning well, you can't be in balance because you're not getting rid of what you need to be getting rid of.
Rose, this like hits my home because I was as an avid athlete.
Mhm,
I did triathlons. I love running and I still love running. I only do a little bit today, but I
mhm.
just had a conversation with the client yesterday about the mindset because she used to 10 years ago go to boot camp every morning at 5 a.m.
Yes.
She loved it. And it's one thing to love an activity. It's another to understand might do that once a week because you love it. That's not what
Mhm,
the body needs right now. And what's the difference? But we were really, it was go, 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 60 minutes, hard cardio, 90 minutes. Um, and even though we're hearing all this talk today about walking, all this talk about women and muscle is an organ and it's an organ of longevity, and we need to be lifting and creating, we used to think, I don't want to lift because I don't want to look huge. Us as aging women are never going to get huge. Like that's
no,
not the thing. But we are, 1% a year losing muscle mass after 50.
absolutely.
So if we're not doing something, I just got on my mom about this actually. My mom is gonna be 80. And I'm like, Mom, it's never too late. Like,
Mhm,
I love the fact that you golf. I love the fact that you garden. I love the fact that you're active. But
yes.
if you want to one day see your great grandchildren and be able to
Mhm.
pick them up and get on and off the floor and lift your luggage, you've got to start strength training.
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And
It's a big mindset shift.
that's his shift.
Yeah. And I get it because, like you, I was there. I was a 5 a.m. go to a spin class girl for years and it was killing me. And I didn't understand. I was like, wow, this is so hard because I felt like I needed a nap when I came
Yeah.
home. Well, yeah, that's not good. That's not how you should feel. Spoiler alert after you exercise.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that is absolutely so true. Yes, it's anyways, ladies, this has been phenomenal and I hope really educational. So, I mean, it's easy. Obviously, you can't go to the store and buy a hair mineral analysis kit. So, how does somebody seek out whether it's you, a practitioner, where do they
Yep.
go to get tested? How does that work?
Absolutely. So for me, you can do it two ways. You get it actually free if you're a one-on-one client with me. I do it free or discounted if it's part of my group program. And also, you can buy a package with or without coaching. Some people feel like they just need the package, the testing, the protocol. I meet with everyone for an hour and I go over everything and then they're good to go. And then I have accountability coaching too that goes with it, where we can meet once a month to see how the protocol is going for 3 months. So everybody's different. It just depends on your need. But like I said, it's an easy test. It's just a little piece of hair. If you color your hair, that's okay too. You just want to wait until right before your next color. You want it to grow out for at least 4 weeks so that you get that root, because hair testing is a picture of what's happening in your body over 3 months' time, as opposed to blood, which is just what's happening at that moment. That's the other piece that I really like about it. So, yes, you can contact me. The best place to reach me is through my Instagram page, which is just my name, Rose Amonte Yadzio. And yeah, I have lots of options for that.
Oh my gosh. And if somebody was looking for somebody local, does everybody do hair mineral analysis? Like what type of person would they look for?
So you would have to have the certification to do it. So you would just have to ask. I don't know that you need it to be local because it's just a simple kit that gets mailed. That's the
Perfect.
way I do it. Yeah, you don't have to actually have someone cut your hair. I actually have my hairstylist do mine. I do it a couple of times a year for myself. And I just, when I go in for a haircut or just even to get my hair colored, I ask her just to take a little bit and I put it in the little envelope that comes with me. So
Yep.
it's
Yep. I
really
remember
simple.
I had my husband do mine and he's like, "What? Cut what?" He was
Yeah,
so nervous. I'm like,
I
"It's
know.
okay. It's just hair. It grows back." But
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
oh my gosh, fabulous. And then for all of you guys, I really hope you got so much value out of today. Take a look at yourself. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Maybe you can, benefit from just taking a look and seeing, because I use the same philosophy, right? Of test, don't guess. It
Yeah,
will be a game changer when we start doing comprehensive DNA and everything. It's like, holy smokes, I've just been doing what my friend did. I didn't know that's not good for me. So
yep,
it's really
exactly.
eye-opening, and you can do this long term. So I love that.
For sure.
So Rose, thank you. I think the listeners will
My
find you
pleasure.
on Instagram.
Yep.
And then also I know that you had a free gift for
Yes,
everybody.
I do. I have a free guide for everybody. It's kind of like the secret to start losing weight, gaining energy, and sleeping better over 40. It has a little video. It has a PDF with some recipes and some suggestions. So I will get that to you so you can link it and everybody can have that.
So fantastic, you guys. It will be
Yeah.
down in the show notes of how to reach out to Rose if you're interested, and her free resource for you guys. And as always, I always have, like, two big goals every single time you guys are with us and listening, that we always have fun, right? Because we always need to have more fun in life. And number two, that there was something that was educational, that it was your takeaway, that the one thing Rose said, or one, question that you were like, aha, that you can take away to improve your life today and moving forward. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, for always being with us and listening. And Rose, what a gift to have you today.
Thank you. So great to be here, Kelly.